San Jose de Liarana.
Science Awesome Day, Hasayans! Kamusta? I am Sir D, ang Science Terrific Teacher ng Grade 8, here to help you with your modules for Week 1 and 2 of the 4th quarter. For today's topic, we are going to learn on how cells divide. Huh? Sir, do they divide? Yes, they certainly do. They do this for them to replenish and replicate our bodies with new cells. But before that, let's test your prior knowledge. I have 3 questions. Try to answer them all by writing your answers on a piece of paper or by memorizing it. Are you ready? Let's begin. Question 1. True or false? According to the cell theory, cells come from pre-existing cells. If you said true, then you are correct. Good job! Next question. Question 2. What are the 2 types of cell division? If your answers are mitosis and meiosis, you are absolutely right. Question 3. What do you call the process wherein body cells undergo cell division? If you said mitosis, well done! Last question. If mitosis happens in body cells, what type of cells do meiosis occur? If your answer is sex cells or gametes, you are correct. Good job! If you got all the answers correctly, then you are awesome. When you look closely at an organism, you wonder how it was formed, how it grew, and how it developed. Some organisms are so tiny that you need magnifying glasses or a microscope to observe how their body parts look like. Each organism has adaptations and structures that allow it to thrive in its natural environment. Despite the distinct differences among organisms, they still have something in common. That is that they are all made up of cells. In plants, we have the plant cell. In animals, we have the animal cell. And in microorganisms, we have the bacteria as an example. The cells are the basic structural and functional unit of life. They vary depending on the type, structure, and function that they perform. For today's lesson, it is also important to recall the cell organelles that play an essential role in cell division. One is the cytoplasm. This is a part that holds the organelles in place and where most cell activities take place. We also have the cell membrane in the animal cell and the cell wall in the plant that surrounds the cytoplasm and decide what materials should have been kept in and out of the cell. Lastly, we have the nucleus, the brain of the cell, where chromosomes are located. The chromosomes are thread-like materials that hold the organism's genetic material called deoxyribonucleic acid, or the DNA. We may compare this to a residential compound, the cytoplasm being the backyard, the cell membrane being the gate, and the nucleus being the house itself. Cell division is important because of the following reasons. Number 1, to assist in the formation of gametes or sex cells. Number 2, to increase the cell number of most body tissues, which result to the regulated growth of these tissues. Number 3, to repair injured or damaged parts by regenerating or reproducing new cells where damage took place. There are 2 important stages of cell cycle. First is the interphase and second is the cell division. The interphase is the non-dividing phase. It serves as the resting stage between divisions. During this time, the cell is engaged in constantly producing ribonucleic acid or RNA, which is another type of nucleic acid that is important in protein synthesis and other vital functions such as nutrition, respiration, and biosynthesis. Interphase is divided into 4 phases: gap 1 or G1, synthesis or S, gap 2 or G2, and sometimes gap 0 or G0. Gap 1 or G1 is the primary growth phase of the cell. The cell carries out its normal functions and also increases in size in preparation for cell division, production of RNA, and protein creation. During this synthesis phase, DNA replication occurs. DNA replication is a process where the complete genetic information of chromosomes are duplicated. This results in sister chromatids and 2 other materials called histones and nucleosomes. At the gap 2 or G2 stage, the cell continues to carry out its usual functions, to grow and to reproduce new proteins. This phase also fills the gap between DNA synthesis and the beginning of the mitotic cell division. However, there are instances when cells stop dividing and leave the cycle as early as in G1. This is the gap 0 phase. This can be a temporary or a permanent rest. Cells in here are in non-dividing phase outside of the cell cycle. Many cells in the body, mostly those that belong to the nervous and circulatory system, are in G0 phase permanently. The completion of the whole cell cycle depends on the type of cell. Cells divide differently, so there are cells that divide rapidly, such as red blood cells. Most human cells divide after 12 to 24 hours. Cell division comes into 2 types, mitosis and meiosis. Both involve 4 stages, namely prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase. Let's now discuss the first type of cell division. Mitosis is a type of cell division of the nucleus that takes place in somatic or body cells, such as those in bones or skin. In humans, mitosis starts shortly after the egg is fertilized, producing a huge number of cells needed to form the multi-celled embryo. First stage is prophase. In this stage, the cells is now ready to undergo cell division. The nuclear envelope starts to break down, so the nucleus will start to fade. Chromatin condenses to form chromosomes. Each replicated chromosome comprises 2 sister chromatids. These sister chromatids are joined at the centromere. The spindle fibers form, which were later attached to the centromere of the chromatid pair, as the 2 pairs of the centrioles move to the opposite from each other. After the prophase, the cell is now ready to continue to the next phase, the metaphase. During this stage, all chromosomes gather in an imaginary plane at the center called the metaphase plate. The centromeres of all the chromosomes line up at the center of the spindle. The centrioles are now at the opposite poles of the cell and have developed into spindle fibers. The spindle fibers lengthen from the centrosomes and are attached to the kinetochores, which are bundles of proteins found at the centromere. Other spindle fibers lengthen but overlap with one another at the cell center. There is no more nuclear envelope surrounding the chromosomes. The next phase is the anaphase. When this stage happens, the spindle fibers shorten and the kinetochores separate. Spindle fibers form guide wires that attach to the chromosomes at their centromeres. The centromere of each chromosome separate into sister chromatids. Each chromatid is now considered a daughter chromosome. Each daughter chromosome will then be pulled by the spindle fibers to the opposite cell poles. The two cell poles will now have the equal and complete chromosomes that contain all the required genetic information. The last phase of mitosis is the Telephase stage. During this stage, the cell division is almost complete. The nuclear envelope has started to reconstruct around the chromosomes. Chromosomes begin to uncoil and revert to being a chromatin. Karyokinesis, the whole process of mitosis, is not yet complete, as cytokinesis comes next. Cytokinesis will come right after cell division. Microfilaments play an important role in cytokinesis. They help form the cell's cytoskeleton. They also form actin fibers, which are the major components of contractile rings in cytokinesis in animal cells. After the telophase, two new daughter cells are produced from one parent cell. The cells then enter the G1, S, and G2 phases again. Remember, the daughter cells of mitosis are both diploid cells, which mean they both contain the 46 complete set of chromosomes. For us to help us remember this, let's sing a song. The song goes like this. Mitosis, mitosis, cell division, cell division, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, two diploid cells, two diploid cells. Now, let's do it with actions. Mitosis, mitosis, cell division, prophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, two diploid cells, two diploid cells. Did you get it? There we go. This sums up the part 1 of this episode. Remember, in mitosis, it only happens in our body cells. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next meeting on our next lesson on meiosis. See ya!